Welcome, everybody. It is already week 4, and I'm back with my IDP 5 of this week. Too good, too bad, and one person you need to know before everybody else in your league does. Welcome to the RPO YouTube page. My name is Matthew Montgomery, and I am ready to go. You know how I like to do this. I like to start with the positivity sandwich. So I will start with my 2 positives this week. The first one is going to be kind of a different one from last week. I was pretty low. The vibes were pretty low on Cowboys edge rushers, but this week I want to shout out a Cowboys linebacker, and that is linebacker Eric Kendricks. Kendricks is, to be frank, kind of old for Dynasty, right? He's in his 30s, and we get super scared about people that turn the age of 30 in the NFL. Well, I can assure you that Eric Kendricks is one of these guys that you need to know about regardless of what his age is right now. The Cowboys have a history of really, really productive inside linebackers, dating back to the days of Sean Lee. Then there was Leighton Vander Esch prior to all the injuries. We had Jalen Smith for a little bit. Well, it appears that we finally have the torch passing, and Eric Kendricks is taking up that mantle. Not a lot of players get 12 tackles in a game. When you have that type of volume, it doesn't really matter if they're assists or if they're solo tackles. When you are getting a 10 to 12 tackle a week out of a guy, he is somebody that you want in your lineup every single week. A lot of people probably already know about Eric Kendricks, but he's a player the last few years that I have been reticent to start. He's been so up and down. I just feel like he was a man without a home. It appears that he has found a home in Dallas, and he is playing at a very high level to start the year. I talked about him a little bit in some articles in week 1. Last week, I kind of wanted to give it some time to breathe a little bit because he's had big weeks before. But we are 3 weeks into the season, and he is securing himself as a very effective linebacker 1 for your rosters. And that is why I'm starting off positive with Eric Kendricks. The second player I'm going to talk about is somebody we're all familiar with, and that is the Honey Badger, the New Orleans Saints safety, Tyrann Mathieu. Mathieu is a weird player in IDP, mostly because he's a good name recognition player, but he doesn't really get the stats that make him a quality starter in most cases. This year, something has changed. He is making plays all over the field. So far, he has 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and 14 solo tackles. Now, that is a big time beginning of the year, and that type of pace, I'm sure, is not going to be held throughout the season. But it is a wave that I'm trying to ride right now because a player like him, even though he is schemed against offensively, because he's been around for years and he's been making plays at a high level for years. But like I said in the beginning of the video, he's never been stable enough to play. Right now, we are seeing that stability. We are seeing the week winning plays, and he is playing up to the name on the stat sheet. Because of this, Tyrann Mathieu needs to be in your lineups for as long as this wave goes. And the way it's looking right now with the New Orleans Saints as a whole, it may last longer than we think. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to bring the vibes down a little bit. The first player who I'm not so high on this week is safety Kyle Dugger of the New England Patriots. He's one of those good players that never truly lives up to what I believe he should. In fantasy football, specifically IDP, consistency wins the game. And he is probably the most inconsistent player at the position, arguably in all of IDP. Last season, he had 10 games where all he recorded were tackles. So, okay, fair enough. If you have a stable tackle floor, I can put you in my lineup. Well, in 5 of those 10 games, he had 5 or fewer total tackles. That type of production for a player that we deem as a playmaker or somebody who's better than everybody else is not going to cut it. You can't put somebody like that in your lineup. And this year, he's doing it again. Weeks 1 and 2, he has fantastic weeks. But then week 3, he has 3 total tackles. That type of thing is not going to cut it. That is a weak losing effort. There are people available who have less name recognition, are cheaper to acquire, and they can perform more consistently. And for that reason, I'm down on Kyle Dugger. I can't do it anymore. I can't defend the guy. He has all the talent in the world, but unfortunately, we do not get it in every game of the year, so I'm out. You got to put him on your bench, or even in some cases, maybe you need to put him on the waiver wire. And lastly, probably my hottest take of the week, I'm down on Nick Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers. We all know the level of player that Nick Bosa is for this team. He is a premier pass rusher. It's the same argument I have for why I'm low on Micah Parsons. If you're in a league that rewards quarterback pressures and quarterback hits, then okay, I can take an L here. But in most leagues that I'm in, or what I consider standard leagues where you just do tackles, sacks, assists, etc., Nick Bosa is one of those guys that may be the most frustrating of all roster cloggers. He feels like a roster clogger because you know what you can get from a guy like this. He is liable to go off for 2 or 3 sacks, 5 tackles, have a pass defended. I mean, he can truly do it all on the football field. And then he'll have a week where it's 2 tackles or an assisted tackle or, hey, he had 15 pressures. I don't care about pressures, man. I don't care if he almost got the guy to the ground. I don't care that he scared the quarterback into throwing the ball away. I care about, did you hit the dude and bring him to the ground? Nick Bosa is one of the best in the league at doing that. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen enough for me to regularly want to start him. Now, if I have Nick Bosa on my team, of course I'm going to play him. But I am arguing that having him on your team is more of a detriment than it is comfortable. So I would look to move a Nick Bosa because he does have the name recognition. He is an elite player, but he is a player that in fantasy will drive you nuts, and he will always make you look at what could be. If I had started this guy instead of Bosa this week, would I would have won? Who knows? But if you have Bosa on your roster and you're not playing him, then you're dumb. I'm sorry. But if you have him on your roster and you move him to get maybe a lesser defensive end or an edge rusher, but you can play him every week and you get consistent tackle floors and production, well, then you have made a move that made your team better. And Nick Bosa can get you good assets. You just have to know how to negotiate. So Nick Bosa, you're a great player. I love you. Former Ohio State, etc. I could go on for days about why this guy's dope. But unfortunately, I can't have him on my team. I got to get something for him. And lastly, everybody's favorite part of this week is identifying who the sleeper is in IDP. Over the course of the preseason, I was writing articles for Football Guys talking about the rebound candidates of the year. Who are the guys that are going to break out before they break out? Edge rusher Derek Hall of the Seattle Seahawks was one of these people I wrote about back in June. Derek Hall is getting a unique opportunity to start the year. Edge rusher Uchenna Nwosu has been hurt. He's been on IR. So we are getting some snaps. We're getting some favorable matchups here where Derek Hall is not going to be tasked with all of these matchups where he's going to be schemed against because he has an elite teammate in Boye Mafe. And Boye Mafe is balling out this year. But Derek Hall is also having a pretty good year in his first real playing time. He currently has a 0% ownership in my fantasy league. Say that one more time. A 0% ownership, okay? So we're talking minute fractions of people will have this guy. He's an edge rusher currently that's performing well enough. Uwosu is not coming back. He's got 9 tackles and 3 sacks in 3 weeks. Now, I know it seems like he's sack dependent, but the guy is young. He is a dynasty buy right now. Get him on your roster while you can and watch the Seattle Seahawks defense run a rotation that will benefit people. I am pretty low on Nwosu. Over the past couple of years, he's been really injury prone. So I do believe that when he gets back, he is going to get opportunities that could cut into Derek Hall's snap count. But I do believe that what we are seeing from Hall is going to give him and his coaching staff confidence, and that confidence will lead to a more consistent snap count. So I believe that Nwosu is going to be on a short leash when he comes back, if he comes back at full strength. But I do believe that Derek Hall has the horses to beat Nwosu for the job by the end of the year. And if you're in Dynasty, you're playing in 1 to 2 year windows. You're not thinking about week 4, week 5, week 6. You were thinking about playoff time, championships, and next year and the year after. So get Derek Hall, stash him while he's free, and thank me later. That is it this week, guys. Thank you so much. I can't believe we're already almost a quarter of the way through the year. That's insane to me. Fall is here. The NFL is heating up. We are starting to see all of these different theories that we've had over the offseason either come true or fall flat on our faces. And we are seeing a lot of high-profile football. My name is Matthew Montgomery. You can follow me on all socials at MattMontyFF. And I'm here doing videos for RPO football as well as writing articles for Football Guys. So make sure you check all that stuff out. Thanks again. See you later.